A trial was not heard as the indecent assault charge involving a 5-year-old boy was handled within the magistrate's court, in which a summary conviction was delivered. Former Attorney General Darshan Ramdhani has sought to address questions as to why the trial was done by the magistrate and not sent to the High Court, despite the indecent assault being at the highest scale. As an experienced prosecutor, Justice Ramdhani believes that the police sought to avoid dragging a 5-year-old boy through the court system, thus reducing the trauma.
You know how trials go in Grenada and the Caribbean. A preliminary inquiry is held, and that can sometimes last a year. And then after that preliminary inquiry, you go to the High Court. You may wait for another year to get a trial. And you know we have had the pandemic going on. So you could very well see that child moving from 5 years all the way to 8, 9 years in the system. So I believe the police made a very good decision, and by laying this charge as a summary charge.
Due to the nature of the case and what he perceived to have been the intent, the former Attorney General notes that the police did a good job in garnering a confession.
They had the power to, or the discretion, to lay it either as an indictable offense, which meant that a preliminary inquiry had to be held. In America, it would be the grand jury. They would probably go through that process. And a preliminary inquiry would be followed by a trial. So you'd have 2 hearings, and the possibility, the distinct requirement would have been that this child would have had to give evidence twice. Now, can you imagine a 5-year-old having to give evidence in the box in court?
Denison George, an attorney in the United States who was instrumental in bringing the case to the U.S., believes otherwise.
It's very, very disappointing. I don't know how we could sit there and say people did a good job. I don't know how we could sit there and justify someone who violated a child in the most vicious, sexual way and justified that this individual was required to pay $600 to the parent for counseling.
The attorney at law says this case was a travesty of justice, noting the lifelong trauma for the victim.
I want to say clearly, this was a miscarriage of justice, the Grenadian justice system, when it comes to dealing with these kind of cases, and when it comes to dealing with this case, was an idiocracy. Plain and simple. And corruption, nepotism, and favoritism played its head in this case.
On Wednesday, Commissioner of Police Edwin Martin called for public assistance on cases of violence against women and children.
This problem requires a whole-of-society approach. The RGPF alone cannot resolve this issue. So we ask for your continued partnership, all stakeholders, communities, and members of the public, as we continue our fight against sexual crimes.
The local outcome is a subject of an appeal, with the hearing scheduled in April 2022. I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.